welcome to another Hanging with the Skinman. What's up, you guys? I'm going to kind of show you a sketch to finished product really quickly. It'll be nice and fast. I'll do a little ghouly skull thing, but I'm going to airbrush and do some inking and show you this stuff, all right? I'm not going to waste your time with a bunch of my gobbledygook intro stuff. Here, I'm going to switch the scenes. Bam. All right. So you can see this here, right? You can see this. So generally speaking, you want to frame your canvas to be so when if it does get framed or something, you don't want it to be like most of your drawing or something important is over on the corners. You want to kind of like, plan to leave some space on the sides. I don't always do that because I am a Neanderthal, okay? Understand? I'm a Neanderthal guy. But I'm going to just loosely sketch with pencil. They said, see, it'll give it some crazy hair. So my idea is that, before I'll plan out, hey, I want to do a spooky creature or something, and then you plant. Let's see. So here's the destroyed nose. And understand that there's a lot more planning that goes into other pieces. So you're gonna if you do if you're trying to do your pieces of art, your cool paintings or whatever, you're gonna want to do a little more like planning or figure out exactly what it is. A lot of times what I'll do is I will draw out something in my iPad, and then I will project it onto a canvas exactly the way that I want it to land there. Now I'm going to show you that in the future, but today what I wanted to do was really get started on showing you guys just some like basic technique stuff here. This is a really just stupid looking skull. So, but yours will be cooler, of course, than this. But make sure that there's some cool hair. Does not have to be, once you get to the level of your responsibility that I have achieved, you're not going to need to do too much planning. You'll know once you get there with the ink, which you're going to see very, very soon. There's some rotten teeth. They're little sharp ones. This was a cannibalistic hillbilly, I'm thinking, sometime in the past. Anyway, should we give him horns or something? I don't know. No, probably not. What we can do is bring the eyeballs up a little bit to make them bigger, since there's a lot of forehead here. A little too much forehead for me. Once again, I'm joined by the immaculate Mark, the producer. He's fiddling with stuff in the back. He's the guy who had the run-in with Kirk Hammett. You may have remembered from last episode of Hanging with the Skinman. So again, I'm penciling this very quickly. You're going to probably want to take a little more time, but what I'm trying to do is get to the point where I'm just showing you what it is exactly that I'm trying to do here, which is draw like a skeleton head. Just like Rob Zombie loves, man. Skeleton head. All right, there's a goofy-ass skeleton head for you. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my airbrush station. Mark's going to follow me over there. And then I'm going to airbrush this, and I'm going to show you what happens next.
Yeah.
Okay, we're walking over here, okay? Come with me. As you can see on my sloppy drawing here that I didn't plan too well, I'm going to turn on my airbrush. What I like to do is I like to start with an entry-level neon yellow. Let's see if there even is any of this in here. Okay, there's a little neon yellow in there. About a bit. Okay. And then this is just a quick spray of some highlight areas. You want to leave a little bit of white sometimes, some spaces. Okay. Then you come on in with some neon green, because the cool thing about this using a base like a yellow, like a neon yellow, is that you can either go back on top of it with orange, or you can go back on top of it with green or blue. It's a very neutral kind of a color. See, you can come in, hit the highlights. Here's the areas where you're going to want to show the rottenness of this guy. The rottenness of this skeleton head. A little on there. Now, I'm not very good at airbrush. What a lot of people can do is they can go in with these like little details. Make it look like, you know, like actually they kind of do some shading and stuff. But you'll see in a second that the style that I do, especially in this situation, is very kind of sloppy, and then I go back in with the details with my brush, and I do the underlights with acrylic. See, but you know, sometimes there's like a shadow there. But you can kind of see it coming together a little bit.
So you start with a lighter airbrush, then another one that's a little bit darker.
Yeah, you could get darker with it, and then see like here, like this area, a little darker shadow.
Now that's still the same green, right? Or
Yep.
is that a different one?
Same green. And then I will hit it with like cerulean blue. You know, darken that up even more. Because this is making too much noise here. It's ruining the production quality.
Is it?
No, I don't know. There we go. See, much better.
Oh yeah, it's a little more quiet now.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
I took it off the metal.
Oh, it was on that rattling metal thing.
But so you can kind of see, so you know, this is a hole inside of it's like here. So it's just sort of like, you know, for somebody like me who's not necessarily like a great airbrusher, it's really just getting like the cool feel of, say, a carnival. You know, like a carnival ride. You know when you go into a carnival and it's like the haunted house, and then it's like all this kind of like airbrush tweaker art on the outside of it? That's essentially what we're doing now, airbrush tweaker. You might want to get a little. See this? These little highlights like this. Very 80s Trapper Keeper elements coming. So, we've got that. We've got the dark areas. You want to have a cleaner on hand. So this is like an airbrush cleaner. You put it in there. Again, be more responsible with your airbrushes. I tear these things up like crazy.
So now what's happening is you're putting, what is this stuff
This is
called?
cleaner. This is airbrush cleaner.
Nice.
Easy to use. And you essentially
Then you do like a smoke thing.
spray the caps. Then what I like to do is take a fluorescent color, orange. There we go. And make sure that I can get the teeth. Because you want the teeth to be weird. A different color than the green.
Yeah, so it's like a little bit inside the mouth or something too? Or
Yeah, so I'll spray inside the mouth a little bit. And you want to hit this hair a little bit. And you can give it a little hit here and there, because there's no we're not doing real life painting here. This is tweaker art here, all right? So you want to make sure that the hair is a little hit here and there, and then you give it a little blast. Little bit. All right. Now,
nice.
I like to hit it with this neon red on top. There's neon pinks. There's a bunch of different ones that you could grab. If you're trying to shade, essentially, see, as you could tell, this pink is a lot more intense than the orange that shows up. So the teeth are just nuts looking now. You got the Cindy Lauper insanity. You got the Return of the Living Dead punk, nutty punkness of it. And then the cool thing is that you can find these like shadows that come from mixing reds and blues and reds and greens. And you can find like darker, more interesting sort of bruise colors, stuff. So it's kind of crazy, like what you could do. And you can always go back and paint on top too, so you don't have to worry about if it's good or bad.
It's more about just putting paint everywhere, huh?
Just then throw it in here.
And then put paint there too.
Then
Right?
throw the paint in here. Let me see. Okay, wait, here's a little bit of a purple that I've got here. This is cool. This is to give dimensionality, just like the dark blue hit,
Eyeball.
Yeah. So we're gonna give it a little dark purple shading. See that? Like real rich purple. Kind of. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so, and then after that, essentially what you'll want to do, well, here, let me hit this. What you're going to want to do after that is clean these out. Clean your brush out. Now, this is a very quick, I'm trying to be expedient with what I'm doing here because I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. But anyway, so what we're gonna do now is let this dry in the sun. Don't breathe in those fumes. Normally you want to do this outside or in a ventilated area, all right? These are not like intense fumes, but they're not good for you.
Or that's another good way to use it, like a COVID mask.
Too, right?
Yeah. So I'm gonna leave this out, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna get some acrylic paint and I'm gonna paint this eyeball. So I want my eyeball to be yellowish and whitish, all right? I'm gonna show you this because then I can hit it. Borrow this from Christy.
Is it already dry?
No, there's some parts around it that are not dry yet.
Do you ever use a hair dryer?
Yes, I do use a hairdryer. So you guys could use a hairdryer if you want. I personally do use those, but when I have the sun out, I like to give it a chance to dry naturally.
Yeah, why waste energy, right? When you got the sun bright.
Yeah, the beautiful sun that never goes out of it never goes out of energy. It's always gonna burn. It's gonna burn there when we're gone. A bit of yellow. And
So you're using your hand as a palette.
just every once in a while.
Just to show everybody how that works.
Just to show you that I don't have a palette.
Yeah, just use your hand. Especially when you're just doing a one color thing. It's not.
Yeah, so essentially, this is also how I do my bottles too, where I just do them in layers. But this... So, we're gonna leave this to dry, and then I'll be back with you in 5 seconds. Okay, so we're back, eyeball dried. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to hit it with, what's a good rotten eyeball color? Let's go this weird pink here.
Little pink eye.
Yeah, we're giving it pink eye, and then we're gonna do a little shadow, a little shade in there.
Little pink too.
Yeah, I'm just using the rest of the paint that's in the reservoir. What would be good on top of that? You know what? Hit it with this orange in here. I love orange so much. I just can't go wrong with orange. Because we're almost at the end. And that looks pretty cool, actually.
So what does it mean when it's locking up?
Well, there's a clog going on from that pink. So I'm gonna have to clean it out.
So what do you do with when that happens? You soak it?
Oh, you have to open it up and clean it out. That's all right. Here. I'm also just blasting my paint in here because we're not outside. So normally I have like a bucket. All right, so I'm just gonna leave that like that. And I will clean this out after I'm done filming. So I'm gonna let this dry. And then once I'm done with this drying, I'm going to start inking it with Golden Acrylics Airbrush Black liquid paint. Clean out. I'm gonna clean out my airbrush now.
Sick.
I can feel the clog in there. That's brutal.
All right, you're gonna clean that out while this dries.
Okay, so I got this. It's dry. Okay, normally I give it like, I don't know, as long as I can, because sometimes when you ink on top of this, it'll sort of like bead up a little bit or something. If you go over white, normally, sometimes it'll bead up. So it's going to be like you finding out what exactly is best for you. But my favorite liquid golden carbon black, okay? This is what I usually use to go on top of this. So normally a rule of thumb is to have your paint to sort of, you know, mix the same paint you're using. So if you're using airbrush paint, you want to, you know, ink on top of it with that. Liquid golden black is very, very fluid. It's awesome. So for this, I'm going to use this old Raphael Kolinsky brush 8408, which is sort of hard to use, or hard to find. Okay, let's go. So if you want to like go back in on top of the pencil and kind of like pencil little sections that you want to go on top of, if you feel like you need that as a reminder or whatever. Now, I normally would do this before I airbrush on top, but I just kind of blasted through this with you guys. So this brush is a little mangy, so I might not, we see that? Okay. I might not finish with this, but I'm for sure going to start. The cool thing is with these, with brushes that are a little tore up like this is that you can get awesome textures from it if you do it right, So a lot of times keeping a super messed up brush is good to have because you can kind of get these like rotten little textures, and since this thing is sort of a real rotten head, you're rotten to the core. There you go. Kind of painting fast. I don't normally paint this fast, but since I'm trying to give you the Bob Ross experience here, I can't believe that he would paint those paintings in like a half an hour. Trying to go fast for y'all. So in a lot of ways, if I'm trying to get a handle on the brush, sometimes it just takes you a little while to get into a groove with a certain kind of brush. It kind of depends on what's going on with it. But see, you want to move around some big black areas so that you can feel like what's going to happen with it. And then also, I use these big black areas to sort of knock off excess black paint off the brush itself so that I can get these sort of thinner lines. It's interesting looking at it from the computer. It kind of looks like I did the shading in like a somewhat correct way. Also, don't be ashamed of looking at a cool skull painting if you want, in case you just don't feel like you know what they look like.
Yeah, so that was something I want to ask you about for this one. What did you use for reference or inspiration?
You know what's funny? I looked at an illustration by a horror illustrator who's not very well known, named John Bolton, earlier today. And I was thinking, I'll kind of, I'll do a painting like that. That'll be cool. I liked the pose. It sort of had a proto Virgil Finlay style pose on it. Well, once I started drawing this, I realized very quickly that I was not going to. This painting in no way was going to look as good as his painting, his drawing. So I just sort of, I don't know, I just sort of like went with it. I'm like, all right, just make it kind of crazy. Like, if all else fails, I just really think, if I'm not doing a good job of executing my vision, I just kind of think, just sort of make it look kind of cool, like a pre-code horror comic, and it'll be fine. Everything will be fine. And I took the pressure off myself because I'm like, I'm not doing this to win any awards. I'm just doing this to help and to make cool content for people to look at. But
What's a pre-code horror?
Pre-code horror is like EC Comics. Very, very bootleg style looking comics. There's always this like sort of hole right here too. I don't even know if that's like a real anatomical thing, but I always put this like hole right on the other side of this nose. And then since he's only gonna have one eye because he's rotten as hell, I'm gonna make this at least look kind of neat. Let's see, the eyeball will be like here. And there's a very giant blob that's not gonna dry anytime soon. Rookie move. But I don't know. There's something cool about just making stuff that like doesn't look like it was done by a professional that I love so much. So I just kind of give myself that out. I'm just like, I'm not the best here. Let's not pretend. But yeah, this is cool because it kind of looks like it is gonna be like one of those like weird tweaker carnival ride paintings. But I always think about that poster from Return of the Living Dead. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. Maybe I should try to get William Stout, who did a lot of that production art on. I should interview him.
He's the one that painted that?
Well, he created the concepts for like the tar man. And yeah, he drew a lot of those zombies and stuff. He did production art on Conan. He did production art on He-Man. Conan He-Man. He did a lot of production art on what else did he do? He did like who was that guy with the sombrero always running around stealing artifacts from indigenous people?
Indiana Jones?
Yeah, that's it. He did Indiana Jones. He did that. He did a lot of stuff, man. But he's cool. And he did a lot, he's a master. He's a total master. But I bet you I could swindle him into coming and talking to me. But as you can see, it's sort of coming together here. Brains. I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, whoa, this is so scary. Why do they want brains, man? I remember I was like, I didn't know what zombies were. I was like, what's going on? This is scary shit. Scary shit for little skin. Anyways, I do think though this is a good moment for me to say thank you very much to everybody who has signed up for the Patreon. I'm going to be interviewing people, and also I want to get into a thing I've been thinking. What about a Zoom where people can just sort of ask me questions and we could just hang out and talk? I don't know if that helps at all. I don't even know if that's interesting to people, but I think it could be fun. I have a lot of things I want to talk about. And I'm like, how do I like breach these subjects for like no reason?
Zoom.
You think Zoom?
Hey.
Yeah. We could do Zoom. We could do, but I also feel like, what if I'm just sort of like doing something sometimes where I'm just sort of ranting about like, hey, this is how I kind of came. This is how I came into being as a creative person, because really, like, it was before the internet was the way to go, Also, I just want to take note here for everybody that, you could barely see any of the pencil anymore. you know? So it's cool. It's like, you know, when I do my projections on these things, you will not see any pencil left at all on top of it. But since I kind of did the rough, the rough pencils on top, you can see them, but that's okay.
What was that kind of paper you were using last time?
The Frisket, the clear stuff.
The one that had from the last Patreon. It was like the.
Oh, Bristol board.
Is that what that was?
The paper that I'm painting on top of.
Oh.
Is that what you're saying? The stuff that I'm doing my comics on?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's Bristol. You can also use like vellum.
But that's a G-clay print on there, right? Yeah.
So on top of my pencils that I have printed out is like I have them in printed. My friend prints them with his G-clay printer, but he doesn't. They're not full. G-clay prints. It's just like a little bit of blue. That's my friend Dave Correa, who is an amazing artist.
Yeah. Like not the full quality.
It's not. Print, it's just like it's just it's like just like a little bit of blue. Mm-hmm. So that because.
And it's in blue so that it's easier to remove and post.
Yeah, that's for you. Yeah. It's easier for you.
Yeah.
By the way, everybody, Mark is the one who helped me do all that skin crawl stuff, all the videos. He's the one who did the digital renders of Rotten Raleigh. Oh, see, now it's starting to come together. See, this looks... Yeah, see, now if I saw this, I'd be like, dude, that's cool.
Yeah, it's looking sick.
But as I'm painting it, I'm like, I hope this ends up looking like it's supposed to or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's coming along pretty sick, dude.
It's punk, huh?
Yeah.
But you know what's funny is that, like, you know what we should do is I'll show you guys the painting that I saw that I was using in my mind as inspiration for this skull, and then you'll laugh at like what it turned out to be, instead of like what I wanted it to be. It's a little bit like when I was playing music and I was like, well, I'm gonna rip off Black Sabbath, and I'm gonna rip off bands I like. And then you go to try to do it and you just don't do it right. And then you just end up doing something else. And everybody's like, oh, that's cool. You're original. And you're like, well, I'm just trying to rip off these bands, but I'm not talented enough. So this is, but it's cool because it kind of end up looking like pre-code horror. Like this looks like some pre-code horror shit. And I'll show you guys that too. Actually, Mark, if you look right there,
yeah,
4-Color Fear right there, and the horror, those books, you could bring those over and show people.
Let's see.
You see them in there? See them right there?
4-Color Fear.
Yep. Look at that. Do you see? It's like that's kind of what I'm doing, bootleg shit. But the cool thing is that, you know, looking at this, when I started this, people could see that I clearly was just throwing out just random pencil lines and hoping that it would turn out okay. I mean, honestly, this is surprisingly well balanced of an illustration for not looking at the canvas the whole time. Here, I'm going to bring the chin in so it looks like I actually know what I'm doing. You see that though? Yeah, see those?
Yeah.
But I guess maybe that's not the one. Pre-code horror as you like it.
Pre-code. But what's the code?
The code is the comics code of horror. So what happened was there was sort of a creepy dude. God, what's his name? Who was that asshole that made that book called Seduction of the Innocent? Oh, Dr. Werther. Fred Werther. Is it Werther? I don't know. Wortham. Fred Wortham. Anyway, so what he did was he basically contended that all of society's ills were to blame on children reading EC comics and comics with horror and shit, true crime and, you know, all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then basically what happened was the comic industry was, you know, doing great. It was really great. And then this asshole came along with his book, and basically, like, everybody was like, oh yeah, dude, like, comics are crazy. Look at them. There's chopped off heads and shit. I mean, it couldn't just possibly be that, you know, society itself is really ill and horrible. It was like, nah, it's comics, dude.
What year was that? Like World War II era?
Yeah, a little bit after that. Maybe, I think.
Yeah, like, that sounds like some 50s shit.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
But William Gaines, the editor, the guy who was responsible for EC Comics, went in there to try to speak on behalf of horror comics, but he was all jacked up on Dexedrine, which is like speed. So he looked terrible. He looked all like he was all spun out. Can you guys see this? Is this right? There we go. Maybe that's a little better. So he's all spun out. So he's like in there, and everybody's like, this guy's weird. And it didn't go good, man. It didn't go good. So then what happened was they were like, all right, well, the comics industry was like, well, we'll do the comics code. We'll make it so that we kind of regulate ourselves.
Oh.
You know, and they did. And there was a lot of rules. It was like, okay, you can't show like a severed head. You can't show like a robot killing a person, or you can't show like a dog's head getting squished or whatever. Like they had all kinds of shit that they were saying that you couldn't do. And so, you know, essentially the comics industry kind of folded in a lot of ways, but the horror thing, you know, it was EC got decimated. But I think the comic that saved it was Mad Magazine.
That's still around.
Yeah, I think it's still around in kind of a diminished form, but it's still around. Speaking of diminished forms for your freaking heavy metal, dude, what happened there, man? It sucks.
What are you talking about? Heavy Metal Magazine?
Yeah, it was like, it used to be the coolest magazine in the entire world, like in the 70s and stuff. And then that dude from the Ninja Turtles bought it and then made it like a sexy magazine or something. It's weird. He's all, that magazine that was a cool science fiction, horror, experimental art thing. Oh, dude, it's going to be sexy now. It's going to be weirdly sexy. It's not going to be like cool sexy. So as I'm painting this, I'm kind of trying to wonder like where would the highlights be on this? Also, somebody who's really, really good at laying in shadows on stuff is my friend Lamore Supreme. He like really knows how to go in on shadows and stuff like that. If you're trying to learn how to do stuff like what I'm doing, he's better. Pretty much, he's much better. But he's probably not motivated enough to do this, so I'm gonna keep doing this. This takes an obnoxious need for attention to do something like this. I need. Okay, but I want to tell everybody though, straight up, very very honestly, that fluorescent colors are not light fast and they fade over time. So if you could, do your paintings, keep them out of the sun, man. Keep them out of the sun, but also just keep them out of the light. And then also just try to use maybe just use like actual reds and yellows and blues instead of fluorescent stuff. Because,
What if you put like,
dude, this is looking
lacquer.
freaking sick. Oh, I guess you could, but I don't think that changes the.
Doesn't protect the color? It just
No,
makes
no,
it shiny, huh?
yeah, it doesn't.
What about if you had a matte finish?
I mean, you can add finishes to them, and it might have, you could add like UV light fast coatings, that might help. That might help, man. Look at this, just chunks coming down here. As you can see, I'm trying to paint in a way that's not working. Let me move this. There we go. Now I can get back into it.
So that's another technique. Once you can't get around to one part, you rotate it.
Yeah, you gotta rotate it. You gotta rotate stuff so that you could get in there. See this. Also, I'm just throwing in random lines because it's hair and it's just ratty hair. But if you want to look at cool ink lines, I strongly suggest Charles Burns, because there's literally nobody on earth who can ink as good as him. And if you want to see the effectiveness of like shadows and the effectiveness of the limited amount of shadows that you need to put down in order to have a kind of a visual effectiveness. Yeah, look at Charles Burns.
Do you want lime water or strawberry?
I'll take lime water.
All right.
Thanks, brother. And then, up here, what do we got? Holes.
That's another part of anatomic shit, right?
What's that?
Those holes.
The holes are in the forehead, because...
That's where like the eyebrow connects or some shit.
No, I think these are just rotten holes.
Oh, okay.
But this is where the eyebrow connects. I love that idea, though. Where on your head does your eyebrow connect to your skull? Waterloo, baby. Okay, let me move this one again. Okay, so here. The coolest thing about seeing this like come together too is realizing that, the amount of stuff that I kind of have agonized over with the lights, the lighting, the shadows and all that stuff, it just sort of goes away underneath this black line.
Yeah.
It really does. It's really like, it just looks shaded. Like, it looks shaded in a way that was purposeful. And therein lies the trick, kids.
Yeah, that's why sometimes when I'm cleaning up your scans, if you've done some shading in gray, I don't always erase all of it, because some of it seems like it's good enough to be like just a little shading there,
Right. Looks like it was supposed to be there, maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like that's That's going to be the name of my book. Skinner. It was supposed to be there, maybe.
That's a very Bob Ross way to
Is
look at
it?
it.
Yeah. Yeah, Bob Ross is like, you're going to do this and put this little thing here and make a little tree and a little rabbit friend. And I'm just like, maybe that was supposed to be there. I don't know. I guess there's a big difference between me and Bob
there's a
Ross.
famous quote he says about mistakes.
A happy little mistake.
Yeah.
Something like that. What is it? Oh, they become little fun little accidents or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that what he said?
Yeah. Yeah, like maybe there wasn't supposed to be a cloud there, but now there is one.
Hey, anything to justify that. The fog just rolled in, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, the fog just rolled in. Have you guys seen that movie, The Fog? It's a good little movie. So as you can see, when I turn my brush a certain way, I get these really cool sharp lines. Let's see. Almost done with the rancid hair. Wash your hair. This rancid hair brought to you by shampoo. Remember shampoo? It's just soap for your hair. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's get a look. It's looking pretty cool. Let me see this. Okay. Let's give these teeth some rottenness. Okay, so let me see this. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that this is, for now, this is good. All right? This, to me, seems, pretty, I don't know, like, let's just say it's done. Done with the black lights. Yeah. But, let's grab one of these brushes here. I'm going to let this dry outside for a second with the black, and then I'll be right back.
Going outside here to where it's going to be drying this thing here. The sun.
You gotta let it dry in the sun here.
The sun is drying this thing here.
There you go.
So also when you go outside, it's a good time to fart, so you're not farting inside there.
Welcome back. It's dried up, ready to go. I got some nice paint here. This is flash paint, which is sort of a FLASHE. Is that it? Okay. So sort of a cell vinyl, which is
Flashy.
yeah, it's flashy. It's very opaque. It's a good paint for opaque stuff. Here, let's see.
And is it very flat or is it kind of bulky?
It's kind of flat. I mean, it's not chunky or anything.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to, I don't know, give your teeth sort of a highlight or something, you could do that here. Kind of depends on how much of it you want to do, how much of a highlight. It's kind of an intense one, but you could, you know, hit the main part of the sharpness of the tooth. And up here, it's a little bit of where the light hits the top of the eyeball bone. This is where a little bit of the eye is a little shiny there.
The specular highlight.
Specular, yeah, whatever that is, I like that. Specular. And there's a little bit of spit here and there.
That's a spit.
Just
Saliva.
just rottenness, just some straight rottenness. And so what you could do too, add a little bit of yellow if you'd like, for say there's some sections that are gonna be at their best. Highlights.
Hairlights.
Yeah, hairlights here. Now again, you don't. They could be any color. It could really just be, you know, like these could be straight up white, but I just thought that maybe a little yellow inside there would be cool. Let me turn this upside down so that I can get a little better example for it here. Let's see. And you know, if you're trying to be like an actual good painter or whatever, you could start with bright orange and then go down to yellow to yellow white to white to build up like a highlight on there if you want. And then of course you can do this type of stuff if you want. You know, do whatever, get wild with it. And let's see, a little white highlight up top, white, yellow, kind of brings it out. So that part of the head is a little more rotten. Just a little, and then maybe it's got a little stuff coming down. Some rottenness. And more rottenness here. I'm noticing it's a lot easier to do my highlights upside down. So do these little highlights here. You can and go back in if you want. When this painting's done, it's gonna scare the hell out of you. And so you want to hit the tops on both sides with some highlights, I guess, if you want. Let me see what it's looking like. Yeah, so it's starting to look. I don't even know if you can really see the highlights in the camera. Actually, do you think you can?
Can see it from this angle.
You can? Okay. But I mean, these are actually pretty wimpy highlights, honestly. They're not really. I'm not doing a good job of executing them because the paint itself is like, you know, it's just different than black ink. Or say black acrylic that's fluid, because the more fluid that something is, the less opaque it is. So it's kind of hard to have a fluid paint and then have it be opaque enough that it does the job of the highlight. So you know, you learn what you like. But you can kind of just build up little things here and there. Like this is kind of cool. You could do this. Where you go. Like, oh, that's cool. That's spooky. Yeah. And it's like more chunks coming. There's some spooky chunks, dude. Spooky chunks, the Skinner story. So, you know, as you could tell, anything you do on top is going to kind of make it pop more. So this little crack part is going to look more. Maybe go like this. But if you hit something on top, it just pops out because it's like the light is hitting the top of it. Jeez. So yeah, it's sort of getting that under that, like under light is sort of coming. Now I will say this. If you want a cool underlight, you can do this other thing, which I like to do, which is take a complementary color and then hit it like this. And you could see it kind of gives it a spooky underlighting that you can go back over with you can go back over it with white if you want as well. But like go like this.
Green highlight.
Yeah, it's got a green highlight because he's rotten. He's coming out of a swamp, man. But you know, like a neon blue, like a real bright blue would be good.
Cyan.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. See. And then you go on this side. And then you can hit that. And then you could even, you know, hit it up here if you want. I mean, if you look at like say a Basil Gogos piece, you'll realize that there's really no limit to what you want to do with bright colors. Basil Gogos is incredible. I should probably talk about him in the next episode. But see, yeah, it's starting to come around a little bit. Hell yeah, look at that. And then
Where did his eyeball go, you think?
it got popped out. He traded it for some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, man. He traded for some Dragon Ball Z bucks. But, you know, I'm kind of not really. I'm just sort of having fun right at this point. I don't really know what the hell I'm doing, but you could see where that kind of shadow underneath looks cool, and it gives an interesting dimensionality to the light. Underlighting is where you can get some like really wild, like, I don't know, effects, you know, real wild, like, you know, I mean, even if you wanted to plan out some of your own, you know, you get some lights that have different colors to them and stuff. You could plan out your own underlighting photos and get them going, and they look good. You know, you could see, like, if you look at old Richard Corbin stuff, his underlighting is off the hook. But let me see. Yeah, there we go. And then, you know, if you ever go over some lines you didn't want to, you could go back in and hit it with some blacks, go on top of that, clean it up. That's what we call cleaning it up. And then, okay, we're back.
We're back.
Had to dump some trash. So yeah, I'm hitting these with the underlight. The underlight. So, yeah, I mean, do a little more, I guess. And then okay. Then you go back with the white a little bit on top. For these little sections here. So this is just sort of a fun little thing to go on top of this. You kind of just got to decide for yourself where you think that should be. You just kind of keep building it up. So, you'll figure out what part that you think needs the white highlight on top of the blue, and you could blend it in as much as you want, or wait for the blue to dry and then put the white on top of it. As you can see, I'm not, it would be a lot smoother if I had some water here, but since I'm not totally prepared, I'm getting better. I promise I'll be more prepared later. But you can see this eyeball's in here hanging from a thread, man. But it's getting close, and it's to a point where it's feeling pretty good. I go back on the bottom of these little blues. This little nasty guy, he rose from the grave. I don't know what for, but he did rise. He rose from the grave so he could do more punk rock shit. He's like,
he rose from the grave to go to the Stay Gold show tonight.
Oh, is there a Stay Gold show tonight?
Like some grindcore shit.
Oh no.
Whitty wants me to go to get him a t-shirt.
Who does?
Whitty. One of the bands.
Dave Whitty.
He likes one of the bands playing.
Who's playing?
I forgot.
The Butt Munchers.
No, it's like
the Munchers, dude.
I forgot what it's called.
Grindcore bands.
Yeah, it's kind of grindcore shit.
Do you like grindcore music?
Sometimes.
Giggle, 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 giggle. I like it because it grinds me into dust.
Napalm dash.
It grinds my attention span down, man. Yeah. It grinds my mind into shit, Mark. Okay, so put a little blue in these teeth so it kind of looks like they're in the same universe as the rest of the head. So this is, oh, there we go. So this is, oh wait, maybe, what do you think? Do you think if I put a little bit of blue underneath it would like fuck it up? Let me see. It might, oh, maybe not. Let's see if I put some white underneath that. I don't know what's going on with this, but hopefully it's not ruined now. You ruined it. No, that's fine. It's fine. You know when you're doing something for like a little kid and you make it, and they're like, you ruined it. Like if you don't make it exactly how they wanted.
Is that what happened?
Sometimes you're just like drawing something and like, what are you doing? You ruined it. You don't. I tell you, kid. You don't tell me. Okay. So this is about there, I guess. So this is a gross skull. I did mess up that eyeball. It doesn't really look good, but that's fine. Everything's fine. Here, maybe I can. There, we'll just make it be like, oh, the eyeball is like so diseased, man. It's gross. Oh yeah, that's better. See? Better. Totally fixed, dude. It's totally fixed, man. Okay.
You ruined it.
You ruined it. So, that's the beginning to end, sort of. I don't even know how long that was. Was that like an hour or something?
It looks great. It's good.
Thanks, you guys. I'll be getting better at this soon. And join me next time for an interview, I think, the end of this week. But then also just tons more fun shit. Okay? Peace. Oh, wait. Here, let me do this. Peace out, everybody. I love you very much. All right? All right. Have a good day.
Your last words there?
Oh. Any last words from me? It's done, man. Look at that rotten head.
Oh, that's sick.
Best painting I've done yet, man. Straight up.
Yeah, that's the best one.
See you next time, ghoulies.